So, one of the biggest problems that I come across is students who are nervous around exams. And that nervousness is perhaps justified in that an unseen exam is the assessment over which you have, shall we say, the least control. That said, a lot of examination nervousness can be dealt with in good preparation and timely preparation for the exam. So this boils down to, how do we prepare for an exam? The first thing that you need to do is be aware of the syllabus of the module. Make sure that you are aware what elements of that syllabus can be examined and what elements of the syllabus are not liable to come up in the exam. And that's a perfectly legitimate question that you can ask of the module leader. Secondly, you need to be aware of what format the exam may take. For instance, is the exam mostly going to be multiple choice based questions? Is the exam going to be exclusively long answer questions? If the questions are long answer, are they more likely to be mathematical type questions, or are they more likely to be essay type questions? In many cases, you'll find that your exam actually contains a mixture of question types. Also, make sure you know how long the exam is going to be. Now, again, you can reasonably ask all of those questions of the module leader. It's quite likely that at some point your module leader will provide a mock exam. However, there's no harm in finding out long before that what form the exam takes, because your preparation is not going to be the last 2 weeks before the exam. It's going to be the last 2 months before the exam. So if you know that you're coming up against a multiple choice exam, you need to become confident in answering multiple choice questions quickly and accurately. And the best way to gain that confidence is through repeated exposure and repeated practice. So if your module leader has given you some multiple choice questions, you need to expose yourself to them on multiple occasions. So as soon as you're given something, try it, then leave it a few weeks. That gives a bit of time for you to forget. Try again. If you have access to a textbook which has a question bank, usually most of the textbooks you have do have questions at the end of each chapter. Again, look at these. Can these be helpful to you? There is quite a lot of MCQ material available on the web if you just search for it. With MCQ questions, there are two things that you're really trying to do. The first is you're trying to get the subject knowledge memorized. Secondly, where your memory is not going to help you, you need to learn something which is deductive logic. If you can't work out the correct answer every time based upon subject knowledge, what techniques do you actually have to work out which is a false answer and increase the probability that you actually randomly select the correct answer based upon what's left? Now, in terms of longer answer questions, for most of your modules, the seminar questions are going to be your long answer exam question preparation. So as you go into the seminars, make sure that if you're not perfectly understanding the question and following the seminars, at least you're taking notes of what the answers are and what approach did the seminar tutor take to answer the question. That means in your own time and at your own pace, you can go back and you can deconstruct what's actually been done. And I must warn you that even if you do think that you follow your seminars very well and you understand your tutor in the moment, Bear in mind, you remember about 1/3 of what you're told 3 days later, and that's not any fault of your own. That's how human beings are. So it would be very good to, again, go back, re-expose yourself to something that you've been shown. What actually puts things into your longer term memory is repeated exposure. So in one of my own modules, I show my students a trick to take a demand function and derive a total revenue function. I might show that in one tutorial. However, I expect my students to then go away and do it again, go away and do it again, because on the day of the exam, I very well may ask them to display that under exam conditions, and I expect that they can actually do it and do it accurately. And again, if you don't feel you have enough practice material just from the seminars or mock exams or any activity that the tutor has given, start by looking at the textbook. Again, a lot of the textbooks have questions and example answers at the end of each chapter, and this is a good place to start. Now, what I encourage my own students to do is prepare to answer questions under exam conditions. It's very often the case when you attempt a question with the answer right next to you, you get that little bit of temptation to just nudge yourself, and nudge yourself. What I want you to try and do is learn to use the resources you have in your head and get comfortable working under time pressure. A lot of the exams that you have are perhaps not very generously timed at university level. So dealing with the pressure is something you need to learn to do outside of the exam rather than experience in the exam. So I would very much encourage you, if you're given a mock test, do the mock, but do it under exam conditions the first time you do it. This gives you a good feel for where are you strong, where are you not so strong. If in the mock exam conditions you don't complete, you know that you need to develop a bit more confidence or a bit more skill in terms of dealing with a certain question type, so that on the real day of the exam, you will go in, you'll answer at a good speed. What I want every student to do is attempt every question. What I would advise is on the day of the exam, pick up as many marks as you can as quickly as you can. Whatever you're stuck on, leave it, go back to it. But by the time your paper is taken away from you, I want you to have tried to answer everything. If there's a long answer question you have not really a clue how to approach, start machine gunning anything that you think is relevant down into the answer booklet. You're not guaranteed a good mark by doing that, but every little helps if you're trying to get something to add up to 40. Every little helps if you want to turn a 68 into a 70. It's very rare that you'll come across negative marking or punitive marking. You'll always know in advance if a tutor's going to do it. In my own university, our regulations don't allow it. So you're pretty safe 9 times in 10 to actually do that. The last advice I give is on the day of the exam and in the build up to the exam, try to keep your stress to a minimum, try to manage your time as best you can. There is a certain logic to trying to put things into your short-term memory. However, large amounts of last-minute revision are perhaps not helpful. You do need to look after yourself from a more broad well-being perspective. So a series of all-nighters might not be the best thing. Make sure you sleep properly. Make sure you eat properly around exam time. That really does help. A small amount of last minute revision, make yourself a crib sheet by all means for the morning of the exam, but you shouldn't be trying to ram half a textbook into your mind on the morning of an exam. That's not a power move. It's a stupid move. In a similar way, I think you should be preparing for an exam 2 months into the build-up. Doing 2 days of all-nighters, again, is not a power move. It's a stupid move. We are human. We do need sleep. And we're not actually able to absorb large amounts of information and retain it when we get tired. It doesn't work. You are not a superhuman, nor am I. And if you remember some of your fallibility as you prepare for the exam, that's perhaps not the worst thing you can do. And I think I've talked for long enough. So I guess if you're watching this, you're preparing for an exam. So I'll say good luck, and we leave it there.